Hello everyone and welcome to lesson 6.1B. I've entitled this video, Death, Defeat, and Despair. This video is going to cover pages 148 to 150. Early campaigns. Relatively few soldiers fought in the war's early battles. At Bunker Hill, for example, about 2,200 British soldiers fought 1,200 Americans. The British had not yet won a clear victory. They realized they were going to need more troops. During the summer of 1776, Britain sent 32,000 troops across the Atlantic to New York. The British commander, General William Howe, hoped the sheer size of his army would convince the Patriots to give up. He was soon disappointed. Now we can answer question 1. What did the Battle of Bunker Hill teach the British about the Revolutionary War? What taught them that it was going to be harder than they thought and they were going to need more troops. Patriot defeat on Long Island. Only 20,000 soldiers made up the Patriot force under George Washington, yet the Americans were determined to fight. The two sides clashed in the Battle of Long Island in late August 1776. The British badly defeated the outnumbered Continental Army. One patriot, Nathan Hale, showed his bravery at Long Island. Hale disguised himself as a Dutch schoolteacher and went to spy on British troops. The British caught Hale and hanged him as punishment. According to legend, Hale went to his death saying, quote, "I only regret that I have but one life to lose for my country." The Patriots fought hard on Long Island, but could not overcome the larger and better equipped British army. A British officer wrote that many Patriot soldiers killed on Long Island had not been wearing shoes, socks, or jackets. Quote, "They are also in great want of blankets," he said, predicting that the rebels would suffer during the winter. After the defeat, Washington retreated from New York, which became a Loyalist stronghold. The British chased the Continental Army across New Jersey into Pennsylvania. Satisfied that Washington was beaten, the British let him go. Question 2. What was a major reason why the Americans lost the Battle of Long Island to the British? They were heavily outnumbered. Question 3. What role did Nathan Hale play for the Americans in the Revolutionary War? He played the role of a spy, trying to get all the information that he could. Question 4. According to legend, what were the famous last words spoken by Nathan Hale before he was executed for being a spy? "I only regret that I have but one life to lose for my country." This quote showing that Nathan Hale was not sad that he had been captured. He was happy that he served his country and would have given more if he could have. That shows the great sacrifice that a lot of Americans had for the fight for independence. Question 5. Besides being outnumbered, what was another reason why the Americans lost the Battle of Long Island? Well, the British soldiers were better equipped. Not only did they have more troops, but they had better equipment. Notice what the book said. Many of the American soldiers were lacking basic necessities like shoes and socks. Question 6. What huge mistake did the British make with George Washington after the Battle of Long Island? Well, clearly they were underestimating their opponent. They felt like, we have beaten George Washington and this rebellion will be over soon. Great life lesson here, especially for those of you in sports. Never underestimate your opponent. A low point for the Patriots. Washington and his forces had managed to escape the British. As winter approached, however, the Patriots' cause was near collapse. The Continental Army had fewer than 5,000 soldiers. Many had completed their terms. Others had run away. Washington wrote his brother that if new soldiers were not found soon, quote, "I think the game is pretty near up." Yet he remained hopeful that the fight for freedom would succeed. Washington begged the Continental Congress for more troops. He suggested allowing free African Americans to enlist, but many Americans opposed this idea. Early in the war, the Southern colonies had persuaded the Congress not to take this step. Many white people in the South worried about giving guns and training to African Americans. They feared the possibility of revolt among the enslaved population. Question number 7. What were a couple of reasons why George Washington said, "I think the game is pretty near up"? Well, number 1, he only had about 5,000 troops, fewer than that, and the British had so many. And secondly, of those close to 5,000 troops. Many had served their term and could go home, and others were running away. It didn't look good for General George Washington. Question number 8. Due to his desperation for soldiers, what did General Washington beg Congress to do? Have free African Americans, fight for the Continental Army. Question 9. Why were many Americans, especially white Southerners, against the idea that African Americans would fight in the Revolutionary War? They did not want African Americans having guns and training. Of course, they were afraid that once the war was over, or even during the war, the slaves might turn the guns towards their masters, as would be expected if you were placed in the horrible nature of what slaves were as they were treated. So there was definitely a legitimate fear there that they were fearful for their lives. African Americans in battle. The growing need for soldiers led some states to ignore the ban on African Americans. Rhode Island raised an all African American regiment in 1778. By the war's end, every state except South Carolina enlisted African Americans to fight. Historians believe that as many as 5,000 African Americans joined the Patriots. One example was Peter Salem, an enslaved African American from Massachusetts. Salem fought at Concord and at the Battle of Bunker Hill, and he served the Patriot cause throughout the war. In return for his service, Salem won his freedom. African Americans had many reasons to fight. Some fought because they believed in the Patriot cause. Others may have joined up for the chance to earn money. Some were enslaved Africans who had run away or who, like Salem, were allowed by their owners to enlist. Question number 10. What action did every state except South Carolina take during the Revolutionary War? They did allow African American soldiers to fight for their state. Their colony. I guess I have it as state there too. Yes, their state. Question 11. What did Peter Salem win by fighting for the Americans in the Revolutionary War? He won his freedom. Question 12. What were some reasons why some African Americans fought for the Americans in the Revolutionary War? Well, one, they believed in the fight. They believed in what the Americans were fighting for. Two, they were looking for a way to make some money. And finally, three, some were allowed to fight by their masters, and the hope was maybe they would be given their freedom for showing their bravery and courage. The battles of Trenton and Princeton. While the Patriots were struggling through the winter, the main British force was settled in New York. The British also left some troops in Princeton and Trenton, New Jersey. Washington saw a chance to catch the British by surprise. And I'm showing you a little preview of what we'll be watching over the next couple of days. That surprise is The Crossing, a movie we're going to be watching in class. Question 13. While Washington and his men were struggling in the winter, where did the main British force decide to stay? They decided to stay in New York, and they missed their chance to maybe put Washington away. And that's why you should never underestimate your opponent. Thank you for watching. Before we go, here's my meme. I only regret that I have but 9 lives to lose for my country. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.